of 0.45. So if I had a 10-foot tall window, I would need a 4.5-foot long overhang. Does that make sense? And obviously, the later and later I get into the winter, that ratio is going to increase and increase drastically. So if I had that same 10-foot window and I wanted to make sure I'm shading in October instead of only 4.5 feet, I'm now all of a sudden 15 feet. That's pretty significant, isn't it? Now again, that is if I'm only designing a perfectly perpendicular overhang. And this is if I'm facing south. But what if I was facing east or west? Well, that's what this bottom section is. This is for east or west. And again, for 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., if I'm looking at 36 degrees, you can see that for an east or west facade, if I'm designing a horizontal overhang, that ratio is much, much larger. And again, that's because the sun, as it sets, it's going to set underneath that overhang. So you will have sunlight coming in. So in an east or west facade, you will have sun. That is, no matter what, you will have some sunlight. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. But what if I don't want there to be any sunlight? How can I actually design it to where there's no sunlight coming in through the east or the west? Well, that's where we end up designing these vertical fins, where this is looking at a section through my window. This is looking at a plan of my window. And each of these louvers are angled to allow for no sunlight to come in. And again, I can figure out what that angle needs to be compared to perpendicular to my window. So if I wanted to block out sunlight at 36 degrees north latitude, and I wanted to block out the sun all the way through December, that means that from perpendicular, if I were to go to this exact point here, I would need to make sure I have an angle of at least 5.7 degrees. So there is a way that you can block out the sun on the east and west, but it's going to severely limit your overall view angle coming out of those windows, because all you're going to be able to see here are the louvers, but they do provide daylight. So again, it comes down to what is your criteria for the building. Do you want it to where I'm providing all daylight with no direct light, or do I allow for some exceptions to that? And if I do allow those exceptions, why am I allowing them? Is it the aesthetics? Is it the view? Is it the fact that it's only for an hour? Is it whatever it is? What are your exceptions? Does that make sense? So in this case, if you don't have access to the equipment, or you don't have access to the sun, and you don't want to model it digitally, you can easily use some of this information as a base guide, and then adjust off of it. But ultimately, the best thing that you can possibly do is to model it and see what the hell happens.